come to order. Mr. Randy, will you lead us in prayer?
Dear Lord, thank you so much for this opportunity to come together, Lord. Lord, thank you for the opportunity to speak to the public and for the public to be here, Lord. Lord, we lift ourselves up to you for guidance and understanding and wisdom, Lord. We lift ourselves up to you for an understanding heart, Lord, that we can all come together in unity, Lord. In this, we lift ourselves that we can do what's best for the children in this parish. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, roll call. Randy Rance.
Here.
Bo Barton. Melinda Ballard. Here. Darren Glass.
Here.
Maria Bass. Here. Gary Castles.
Here.
Johnny Fowler. Here.
All right. Item A is the executive committee report. Amanda?
Went through all the checks are all in order, everything was good. Sales tax is up 9.76 over last year at this time. Apparently this has been the highest deposit in the past 2 years, $330,000 in the month of January. And everything was good.
Thank you, Randy. Item B is approved January 12th, 2023 meeting minutes and January 26th, 2023 retreat minutes.
I make a motion to approve.
Second. All in favor, say aye. All right, item C is recognize Tracy Pruden as Taylor & Sons Employee of the Month.
Is it okay?
Yeah,
if you-
where are we
well,
going to go?
we'll set it
This
here.
room is not here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just gonna do
Mine's
it for us.
good.
Yeah, so I've got what this is. Okay. So this is Miss Tracy Prudhomme. She works at the pre-K. She's worked there for 6 years. Here's the plaque from Taylor & Sons recognizing you. And these are some things that some of our employees had to say about Miss Tracy. She goes above and beyond and is always asking, what do you need me to do now? She is always willing to help anyone. She does duties that are not her own. She is always helping around the school. She is always helping out when she sees something that needs to be done. She never has to be asked. I see her help calm other people's kids in their rooms and offer for them to come into her room for a little bit. She also helps the new custodian when she has questions and does not complain when she is needed. If something needs to be handled, she is on it. She also has anything you ever need in her purse or car, whether that be Tylenol or an extra pair of shoes that just happens to be your size. She is one of a kind and cares for everyone. It brings her happiness when she's able to help someone. Miss Tracy is always willing to go above and beyond for everyone in the building. She is always busy helping in any way possible or finding ways to make the day better for anyone she comes in contact with, especially our students. And that is so true. She has a bag in her car that I think goes back to softball days. And if someone says, I wish I had a, Tracy's like, I got one in my car. So thank you, Miss Tracy. We appreciate you and everything you do. Make your speech now. Thank y'all. Thank you.
All right, on the request by Mr. Bob, we're gonna move, item F up now, to review and vote on the industrial tax exemption application for Louisiana Greenfield LLC for the initial 5 years of each phase and for the renewal of the following 5 years of each phase.
You're up.
All right, you stand up. This is Dr. Paul Schubert, the CEO of Louisiana Greenfield.
So, one, we appreciate the opportunity to speak here and share with you what is going on. So, part of a normal process of citing a plant like what we're looking at is to get a tax abatement. It takes multiple pieces. So there's a piece that we have to get approval from the state for it, and then locally we have to get approval from the sheriff, the school board, and from the police jury. And just to give you an idea about what it is an 80% reduction in the ad valorem taxes, basically property tax, for 5 years, and then it's renewable for another 5 years. Okay, and it's like, wow, 80%. That's pretty standard anywhere we would go. Okay? And so, certainly we would expect to get at least, we expect to get that here. And one of the good things that Governor Edwards put in place was there was some provision that people could get 100% tax abatement. And that means that the people in the community miss out on what is for really a significant improvement in the life of the community. And so when you look at, well, what does an 80% tax abatement mean for Caldwell Parish? Maybe the thing to ask really is, what does a 20% tax mean for Caldwell Parish? Okay, so we're looking at a project that it's about $2.8 billion all in. The equipment and the plant that you would be able to see is about $2 billion. Okay? And so there's property tax on that. And Scott Meredith, the assessor, has done a calculation. And when you think about what is the current tax revenues for the community or for the parish, it's about a little over $9 million. Okay, this will be like $8.5 million additional. So it nearly doubles the funding that the community will have. And on top of that, when we go out and we buy equipment and buy all these things that are going to create this $2 billion worth of property, okay, then there's sales tax on top of that. Okay, and we still you have to sort out how much is bought in Louisiana, and a lot of it will be built in Louisiana, but there's sales tax on what we purchase, and we're talking about over a 3-year period, I put 3 up, not 4, the 3-year period when we build the plant, okay, we're talking about millions of dollars a year of sales tax just from that coming into the community. And then during that 3-year construction period, we estimate that there's about 635 workers averaged out over 3 years working and staying and buying food and buying supplies and all of that in the community. And so there's that sales tax also that comes here in the parish. So, and we'll create, as it's running, we'll create about 151 jobs. With inflation, we're looking at something in excess of $70,000 a year for the average job, but everything from people with limited skills coming in and working to high-level university-educated people, but a whole range of those jobs. And then surrounding those 150 jobs will be something on the order of 750 other jobs that support the operation of the plant. So for example, we will have about 200 and some deliveries of wood to the project. Okay, well that's trucks that have to be filled up with fuel. That's tires that need to be replaced. That's mechanic work that has to be done. And this is the place where they're going to gather. So there's all these other things that are going to come into play that are going to help the community grow. And we see certainly that this tax abatement still leaves a tremendous opportunity for the community in order to add to the services and to improve the schools. So that's kind of basics. I'd be glad to answer questions.
I got a lot of questions, and I don't think I can get them justified tonight. What I would like to do, because I don't think there's a rush to do this, is table this, because this is kind of like thrown at us, because I want to know the advantages and disadvantages to make sure that, the school is getting something in return for giving up something. Because when I first met you, I kind of talked to you about maybe creating a pipeline between the school system and your company to where, some of our students can come there, during the summertime, maybe 11th and 12th grade kids, and get some on-hand experience, stuff like that, so when they graduate, they're already job, ready. So giving up something, I would like to see if the school system gets something in return, because I have to make sure that, other businesses that move here, because I'm always for the little man.
Yes.
I defend those people. So to give up something, I would like to see something given in return. Now that's just me. I don't know what the board is thinking, but if this is not something that has to be done tonight, I would like to table it and do it next month.
What is the exact timeline on this?
Mom, I hope you can answer that.
You want me to answer that?
Answer it.
You file an application with the state, they're the ones who notify the school board, you receive the letter. And the school board gets to support or not support the project. The Board of Commerce Industry takes that, they're the ones who decide whether to give the tax exemption or not. But if the school board doesn't want it, then they consider that heavily. If they do want it, they consider that heavily. You have 30 days to respond to that notice or to put it on agenda. Y'all have now put it on the agenda, discuss it. If you don't approve it at the next meeting, then the state says, we're gonna ignore their position and go forward. And they take it as an assumption that you don't object, and they approve it. So you have 60 days in this process, but because you put it on the agenda, it goes 30. As far as, you're gonna have to have relationships between the school to feed the employees in, not only here, but at the ancillary businesses that start up. And most places where there is this, they actually start a program in the school to train to those jobs. And I would recommend that, but that's not a flip of the switch. That is a year's work of curriculum development and everything else. And when I was at Boeing, we did that all the time. I mean, we wouldn't do it unless we could do that in a community.
And I understand the position that you're taking, but from my position, before I say yes or no, I want to make sure that I got the right information and doing the right thing, because everything sounds good. And I don't want to vote no without having enough information. Is what my position is. Again, I'm only one. So you got 6 other
Everything we
people
file
that's
with the state, we have to swear that these numbers are accurate. So we've already filed all of this with the state.
Yeah, first of all, it's a very good question, and let me assure you, Barry, I want you to talk about the STEM program as a little small initial thing, which has already started, okay? And if you would, Paul, speak to that,
Sure.
and then talk about how we envision this project, how your personal vision has been, the impact that you want it to have on this parish.
Sure, so in terms of what do we do or what have we brought that already has an impact? Okay? We are doing engineering with the largest Canadian engineering company, although they won't actually build the plant, but they're doing design work because they have special expertise in the technology that we're using. Okay? They visited here, talked to some of the people, and then asked us, would we support them in offering something to the community that could make a difference? And what they did was come to the school system with our approval and began to discuss how do we put a STEM program in. And STEM is science, technology, engineering, and math. Okay, and what they created with the school is a robotics program. And they created a club that operates in the junior high, okay, and has been operating, I think there are like 20 students in that they meet regularly, and they are working on a project that teaches them to do design work, teaches them robotics, teaches them to think about problem solving. Okay, so that's something that's already started. And then in the high school, they've actually implemented a formal robotics class. Okay, and Hatch, this engineering company we work with, and obviously we pay, but they have made a commitment, a minimum of 3 years and $10,000 that they put into the school to buy materials, and as well a commitment that if more is needed, they're willing to put more in. So we've already started to make a difference in the community. Our goal when we started this project was to find and locate a community that we could place the project in where we could make a difference. Okay, so for example, one of the things we've just gone through in looking at various things with the state was if we put this down in Ascension Parish, okay, and they're talking about doing some of the things that we do down there, sequestration, putting CO2 underground, okay, they have a $196 million a year budget for that parish. Okay, we come in and $8 million or $8.5 million of additional tax money to them doesn't make much difference. Okay, here, and one of the reasons we're here is because it was something that could come in and kind of raise things for everybody. Okay, that we would have an impact and we would do this. Some people, you might find me down at Matt's or at Brookshire's, okay? I made a commitment that we were going to be, my wife and I are going to be accountable in the community. So I do a fair amount of travel, but I work at being here in the community, okay? We've rented a place here so that we're here and live in the community where we're working. Okay, so I've been here since after Christmas, okay, continuously. Okay, so there's part of this that, you know, we're committed to be part of the community that we're in. We've already seen some of the benefits of bringing this project to the community through the STEM program. And we are working with a group that actually will construct the plant based in Louisiana. They're called Performance Contractors. They're committed, once we have all of our funding together, okay, that they will come and they will do extensive training of people so that if somebody is willing to learn and is capable of learning, they can have a construction job at the site rather than bringing people in from outside. So that's something that we already established as one of the base rules of what we would do. We would bring those educational opportunities into Caldwell Parish, provide employment for people who want a local job, and that was part of the requirements in finding the groups that we would work with. So we've already built into the plan that, okay, and I want you to understand, if we don't get the tax abatement, okay, then our investors will not put the money into the project, okay, because we should be able to get at least the minimum that we would get anywhere where we locate a project like this, okay, and you need to understand that it isn't like, okay, let's work something else out. We have investors who go and say, is this a good deal? And if we can't get a good deal, and what anybody else could get any other place, if we can't get that in Caldwell Parish, okay, we would be required by our investors to move the project. Okay, so you just need to understand this is how it works, and this is the process. We are glad to work with the schools. We've already given Nikki and her people the types of skill sets that are required and outlines of what kind of training would be needed in order to do that. We've had discussions with the school about potentially offering those things. We've been up to the Delta Community College and talked to them about training the people who would operate the plant. Okay, and they're already set to be able to train them to do those things. So it's not like we just showed up and we had done nothing. In fact, we showed up and we've already put in place the steps for the type of training and education and opportunities that, if we care about the community, that's what we would do. So.
We started those meetings 2 summers ago with Christy Wells attended with me,
Yes.
and we had the CTE with Delta and ULM and Workforce Commission, and we all started planning out what do we need to do as a school system to make sure that our students are ready for the jobs when they get here.
You get the VOTEC schools and everything too.
Yes.
Nikki, let me just respond to what you're saying. Just like you have investors, I got investment with people who elected me. So before I make any decision, and that I have in the last 30 years, I just like to make sure I have information
Right.
that I can relay back to those people. So if it's not a rush to do it tonight, even if we did it next week, I would just like to maybe come sit with you, Bob, because I think this probably could have been prevented had it not been on the agenda and we discussed it beforehand. So
Well, Baron,
that's just
I
my.
do want to let you know, we
That-
had a meeting last week with them, and,
But we didn't.
no, you didn't. I just
Well,
want you to know.
yeah.
That
So,
Gary
I don't-
could not attend because of work, so Randy sat in on his place. And we met with the police jury and the sheriff's office and the tax assessor and, I mean, there was a bunch of us.
Was anybody else from the board invited?
I was, I couldn't go.
Because I don't want to sound anti, because I think it's a good thing that you guys are doing. I think it's a wonderful thing.
And David,
And I would
David
hate
was there
for,
too.
yeah, I would hate for it to look as if, you know, the system is not supporting you, because I think this is an opportunity for our kids to have the advanced part of reality that they haven't had in 20, 30, 40, 50 years. So I'm on board. I just want to make sure I can tell the people that I voted for, that voted for me rather, why we're doing this, because the question that is coming to me is, well, how's it going to affect the MFP? How's it going to affect this? How's it going to, I don't have the answers to those things.
I got a quick question, Barry, not to interrupt you, but is this 80-20 number that we're getting, and you say 20-80, I say 80-20, is this number negotiable? And the reason I'm asking is negotiable because we in this school board have something against us that nobody else does, to my knowledge. We have this thing called MFP, and when our tax dollars go up, our MFP money goes down. So $1.7 million may affect our MFP to where it drops down to where we don't have, I mean, go to Jackson Parish. They can't afford their school system right now. So my question is, I know that the sheriff department has voted through. I know that the police jury has voted it through. They're under different rules and regulations that we are. We have that MFP that's sitting there, and maybe you can speak to it. How much is that going to affect our MFP money? So what we think we may be getting, we actually may not be getting. So that's the biggest, I think everybody, I can't speak for everybody, I think most of us are on board. We're pumped, we're excited, we're ready. But in to kind of agree with Barron, I got a thing in the mail Wednesday, and this is the first I've heard of it. Didn't know it was anywhere on the agenda. So I haven't had a whole lot of time to like, hey, what is this? Tell me about it. I mean, I want to know more. But I think everybody in here is like ready to go. We just don't, I mean, speaking for myself, I just don't know enough to say, let's roll. Can you answer that question? Is that maybe?
I mean, I have no understanding of the finances of the
Okay.
school.
I've tried to understand the MFP.
Yes, sir.
I don't understand it, I can tell you that right
We
now.
wish it wasn't. It doesn't seem fair, but what do you know
I
about it?
emailed Beth Sino out of Department of Ed in Baton Rouge, and she's the guru on finance. I emailed her Thursday or Friday. I've not heard back from her. And I gave her big details. In fact, you have it in your packet. It's under H4, questioning what happens. I mean, ideally, you know, once they get going and they build the other two plants, we can tell the MFP people,
Bye.
bye.
Exactly.
That's where I really want to be.
I don't want you guys to think that we're not for it. I think we've just been like, we need to like discuss it, look at it, and
What we showed you is the property tax number.
yes, sir.
The
Sales tax is gonna be up.
Sales
I know
tax,
it.
if they build, what's the total?
2 billion, probably half of that is taxable, more or less. $1 billion taxable.
And that would be
Per
over.
year?
That's over the
Total
three.
over the 3
Over
years.
3 years, okay.
Over 3 years, but then it's gonna, this is all direct to the, just generated by the plant, it's like, without regard to all of the stuff that's supposed to be going on around it, generating additional sales tax, an additional property tax. All the numbers that we're discussing tonight are strictly from the plant, okay? So, in reality, it will be a multiple of that.
What is the estimated
Yes.
sales tax that would be generated?
Y'all are 5% here or 4.5?
20 million.
Huh?
20
20
million
million.
first year,
Over 3 years.
over a 3 year?
Yeah, over 3
It'll do
So
this.
6.3 a year.
Well,
No,
what the sales tax, what does the school board collect every year? 2%?
I think it's maybe 2. So 2% of, I thought it was 1.7. It's kinda like-
2% of $1 billion is $20 million.
Okay,
Over and above, and there's no abatement of that.
okay.
That's what we're talking about. The
Over
abatement
3 year.
only applies to the property, ad valorem taxes.
Okay.
So that $20 million in sales tax is more or less, and please don't quote me, right, but we haven't done a complete study, that's a very rough estimate, but it's in that range.
Okay.
And the rough
Okay.
estimate on property
And-
tax, 20% of
All right.
1.9 billion is,
The property tax, and this is strictly talking school board, let's talk about the parish-wide, it's 9 million plus currently for 2022.
the school board.
All right, and the overall tax is gonna increase like 95%, 94, 95%. The school board collects about 35% of that. If you're using those numbers, the school board last year there would have been assessments presumably collected of about $3.3 million to the school board. Okay, from 5 different millages, okay? This plant will add, I just did the rough numbers a while ago, about 2.975, almost $3 million additional in ad valorem taxes after the 80% abatement. And keep in mind, this is not a permanent thing, it's only there for 10 years. Someone pointed out, maybe it was you the other day, this law, this 80% abatement for new industrial development, you know who created that, you know who initiated that law and pushed it? With John McKiffin in the 60s. To bring exactly like this type of development to Louisiana. And the idea is that you try to get industrial development, first of all, they're competing with other states. But you get them here and you don't want on day one, pay us up on your taxes, we haven't even paid the plant off yet. So it's a 10-year deal to say, bring your plant here, build it, we're not gonna tax you at full rate, you're still gonna get some. When you get the plant up and going, after that 10 years, that abatement goes away. So it's only here to help to encourage these investments to come into Louisiana and be competitive with other states and help the economics of the project work. If the economics of the project don't work, these things don't happen. This is a big, big project, and I can promise you, it is very difficult to do, very difficult.
And that's why Ascension Parish School Board gets $192 million because of Shell and Dow and those plants that are down there. And so this will be a huge, and how much money do you think y'all spend every year just on operation and maintenance and capital expenditures?
About something on the order of $100 million a year we'll spend.
So y'all will collect sales tax on that every year as long as they're operating. And then all the people that move here and all the new houses that are here and all the new stores, I guarantee you there'll be a new store built on the other side of the river before you know it.
I've already heard that they've applied for different restaurants. I don't know if it's true, but I heard that.
Look at page H4, and Bob and this group hadn't seen this, but it's kind of running along the same numbers. The property tax figure, I think Scott Meredith's number originally had debt service in there, also increasing, but we can't increase that number because it's limited to how much our debt service payment is. So that part I've scaled out. And for the first 10 years, our property taxes will go up 2.2 million. And then on the 11th year, we go to a full $11,250,000. Yeah, $11,250,000. And on column G, that's the sales tax. Those are our sales tax numbers right now. We're at roughly 2.7 million. And then if they go through with $1 billion and 2%, that'll increase the sales taxes to 9.4 million. And then after that, I have them coming in around 4 million. That's 60 million times 2%, and that's 1.2 million. I think y'all have said at the meeting that there was a 0.6 factor on, a 0.3 factor on 2 billion is how it came up with that.
Yeah.
So, but still, I mean, it's a significant number. And at that point, we'd be getting sales tax. And again, that's like they're saying, it's not a multiple, I mean, that's just the base level. There's no multiplying figure in there. So there's that. And then on page 4 or 5 of that same handout, that's my email to the state questioning what is the impact on that MFP. And that's towards the bottom where I have questions. you know, what is the impact by year on property taxes and sales taxes on MFT?
Dave, when did you get that information?
Thursday?
Last Wednesday? Is it last Wednesday?
You know, I don't see where any way this could be a lose-lose situation. This is a win-win situation, not only for the school system, but for the entire parish, for every entity in this parish, not just this entity, but every entity in this parish. And it's something we really need to think about too, you know, how it's gonna affect the whole parish, because if the parents are doing better, the children are doing better, the children are doing better, the schools are doing better. You know, and needless to say, you know, we could definitely use the money. That being said, it is a lot to swallow. It is a lot to understand. And if everybody feels like they'd be more comfortable waiting a week or possibly 2 weeks,
That would be my question.
and investigate this, you know. And,
I don't want to wait till the next school board meeting.
No, we don't
We
need
got
to wait.
enough going on for the
We
next
could call a
school board.
special meeting in
That's-
1 week. We could call a special meeting
Whatever
in
that
2
time
weeks.
frame is.
However long y'all feel like you need to digest this and realize exactly what it is, we can always do that. We got 30 days,
I
right?
just don't want you
We got
guys
30
leaving here
days.
today thinking this
So-
board is against, I don't believe that. I just
Yeah.
believe that we need to.
Yeah, I believe it's a win-win, but if everybody needs to digest it a little bit, then by gosh, you know, by all means, let's do that. Let's put it, I'll throw a motion out there right now that we call a special meeting for next Tuesday, or
Hold on, Randy. Bob, I'm gonna do something that I have never done in 30 years, which is to let somebody convince me without enough information. I'm serious, because I trust you, and I know that you worked hard in getting this to come here. And I don't want it to look anti, but when I have questions, I have questions. I'm not like anybody else on here. I want to know, because when people ask me, I want to be able to tell them something that's concrete. So with that in mind, Bo, I'm speaking for me. I don't have a problem voting tonight to move forward, because I don't want you guys to feel that there's a resistance of any kind. It's not. Had this information been given to me, I could be a little bit more prepared to do that, but I'm trusting you. And I'm saying that from the heart. I'm trusting you because I believe that you're going to give me the right information. I think that you feel this is a good thing for the parent. So with that in mind, Randy, if you're rescinded, I'm ready to vote and move forward. Bo, I don't know if you are, but I don't think Bob is going to tell.
I think we got about 5 or 6 more people that need to voice up on that.
I'm ready.
Okay,
I am.
okay, let's vote then.
Bob, this one up.
Hey, I'm with you, okay? You
Well,
come see me anytime you
Because
want.
I typically don't do this.
But I know you
wanted to
don't, and I
move
appreciate
forward.
it.
Yeah,
I
wanted to
appreciate
move
that.
forward, and I think it's going to be good, but I'm going to hold you to it, that, you know, our kids have the opportunity, and I would like to sit down with you, because I've asked before, that, you know, you kind of sit down and just kind of let us know what the plan is, you know, for the school system as a whole.
Let me say one other thing just on a personal note. Paul and I have sat, and he has said to me genuinely that he and his wife, Jenna, when they were selecting the community, they said, we really want to go to some place we can have an impact. Okay. We have one high school here. Okay. We have one school system. And this brings all of us together. This is just a little beginning. The STEM thing, it's great. That's just a little tiny thing of the impact that this is going to have on this parish and on this school system and on every, you know, I'll tell you one thing. Here's Daniel Robinson, the one that said this. I hadn't thought about it. He said, we are a community of single moms, not because of marital or family issues, but because all the husbands are off working in West Texas or pipelining or offshore or something. They're always gone. Let's look around for Tracy. Okay. All right, they're always gone. And this will bring some jobs back here instead of, look, all of us, every one of us, either have somebody in our family or we have friends or something, and we know of somebody who we'd like for them to all stay here in Caldwell Parish. And they leave because they don't have any choice. We want to give them a choice. So I can promise you the commitment is genuine from Paul, this was his vision. I had the privilege of getting involved with it, and I'm very appreciative of that. I'm sort of the anchor here in Caldwell Parish. But he has said that genuinely to me, so I don't want anyone to have any doubts about that whatsoever, and I appreciate what you said, Bert. Thank you.
Well, I mean,
Well, I know you do. I know. I appreciate it.
so if it's a motion, I'm ready to vote.
make a motion that we accept the
20% tax.
yeah, 20.
The
What's
tax
the word?
abatement.
It's actually-
Yeah, the tax abatement, they stated, you know.
As approved by the Louisiana Board of Commerce and Industry.
I'll second. Yeah.
Okay. Barton,
Yes.
Glass,
Because Bob Meredith.
Yes.
noted. Bass,
Yes.
Castles,
Yes.
Fallon.
Yes. Do we need to say yes too?
No. I got a motion.
You guys know, so we're good, okay. And I'm going with you starting off with our kids with the program, the STEM program. Don't forget our babies.
We won't.
We want them home.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Appreciate everybody here,
Yes.
appreciate the effort that you make for making this a better parish for our children.
Yes.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Appreciate it. Thank you all for coming. Thank you. Appreciate you coming on the question.
Thank you very much, appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Talk to you anytime.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you need anything,
All right.
Thank you all.
All right, item D is recognition, LSBA Parish Art Contest winners.
All right, yeah, so every year when you go down to the school board convention, we have an opportunity to have some of our artwork there. And so I have Miss Aria Marino, Aria, I said it right the first time. So Aria is a 5th grade student at Grayson Elementary, and she drew this pelican, and so it will be down at the LSBA convention. And so we printed one for you so that you could take it home and have it framed at your house. So we're super proud of you for doing that. And then we have a junior high piece, and this is Kaylee's daughter, Allie Foy, who's playing softball tonight. So she's not here, but we framed this too. So her piece will be there as well. So we're proud.
We'll take pictures of them when we
That's
see
right,
them.
that's right. All right, so other recognition is that there's a new provision that requires us to recognize, or I guess gives us the opportunity to recognize our school board members and their continuing education units that they have received each year. And so at this time, I want to recognize Melinda Ballard, who attained 12 continuing learning units. So, Maria Bass with 7 continuing learning units. Gary Castles with 12 CLUs. Darren Glass, 7.5. And Randy Rentz, 13.5. Pardon?
I said overachieving.
Well, actually he is an overachiever, because Randy has also been recognized as a distinguished board member because he has accumulated, yes. Oh my goodness, where is it? It's a lot. And she told me how much. 13.5. So I think anyone who has that amount gets a special certificate from LSBA. So
Item E is adopt school board member training resolution.
there's a copy in your folder. And again, this is just protocol, school board member training resolution that lets us know, whereas each member of a city and parish school board shall receive a minimum of 6 hours training and instruction required by Act 705. Says that the instruction or the training should be on school laws of the state, governing powers, duties, and responsibilities, and may be received from higher education in the state, sponsored by the State Department of Education, or any type of in-service program. And so this is also includes your ethics training. And so it says be resolved that it becomes public record that Randy Rentz, Judith Ann McKee, Melinda Ballard, Baron Glass, Maria Bass, James King, and Gary Castles all successfully received and exceeded their 6 hours of training for the calendar year of 2023.
All right. Item G is literacy update. Ms. Maria?
You're gonna realize this is my passion, this is my passion. So this is just a literacy update. We are going to give you a synopsis of it to kind of tell you where we are, and if you'll go on to the next slide. And we'll start with the pre-K. The pre-K at the beginning of the year, they're doing the Pele, which is aligned to the cadence that we do with grades K to 6 now. And so at the beginning of the year, you're going to find out that the phonemic awareness is the piece that it involves in this, and which is the foundation of literacy. And if our kids don't have that at an early age, they're going to struggle with reading because they don't have that firm foundation. But if you notice at the beginning of the year, the Pele, they were at 69% at rest, plus the 26, you can add that, that'll be, but look where they are now. We have made an impact. But the piece that's so important is the next slide, is the phonemic awareness. And this is what you'll hear me say all the time, is done in the dark. If we say, what are the sounds you hear in cat? They're able to do that. Well, what's the first sound you hear in bat? The reason behind that is because when they start reading, you'll see kids starting to decode words. And if they cannot hear the formation of that word, they won't be able to fluently read that word. So seeing this data starting in pre-K 4, it's just amazing what we're going to start seeing the impact in kindergarten next year. And so that tells us that 53%, they were at 3% at the beginning of the year on that. They're now at 53%, and this is mid-year. And so that's exciting to see there. The next slide you're going to see is where we are K to 6. Last year we focused a lot K to 2, and that's why we met our goal for K to 2. And I know there was some concerns with the board, well, what about 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th, because that's our COVID babies. So this year we have implemented the strategy working with K to 6. And so at the beginning of the year, this is 756 students that we tested at the beginning of the year. And yes, we were 58.2% at risk. The red 38% is where the ones that are way below. The yellow are the ones that are just a little bit, they need some gaps to move them to the green or move them to the blue, which is your high. Mid-year, we tested 744 students, K to 6. We're at 34, so we dropped 4% in the red. And that's what we want to see, that drop in red. But if you look at, when you look at those red kids, we're testing on grade level with this. But we're progress monitoring and providing instruction on their instructional level. And that is the gaps that we're trying to fill. And so we saw some gain in that. We went from 20.2 to 70%. So little by little, we're making those gains in literacy and filling in that gap that they're having. But the red, if you will see their scores, even though they may have scored a 0 at the beginning of the year, now they've increased 50 to 100 points. So we're filling those gaps, and that's what we want to see. Our next slide is going to break it down by schools, just kind of showing you what kindergarten is across the schools. If you will see where our reds are compared to our yellow, you see that our red at Columbia, we have more yellow because we're filling in the gap. This grade is so important because right now they only have little gaps. If we can catch those gaps right now, it's going to build and increase their fluency in later years. And the next grade is our first grade. And I was very proud of what we saw here because across the district, across the state, everybody always says, oh goodness, first grade, here we go. It's always a dip. But I want you to look at Grayson Elementary. They started out with 22 on level and 27 at risk. Mid-year, they gained instead of dropped 31 on level and 15 are at risk. And so the other schools are reaching out. What can we do? What did you do? And so as we meet in our MTSS meetings, we're talking about each kid that you see numbered in red and yellow. They have a folder that has their plan. And we go over that plan. If it's working, we continue. If it's not, we change the plan to make it work for those children. So we were very proud of them. And the other schools are reaching out now. What can we do to get these same strategies that you're doing? And so they taught. Next one you're going to see is our 5th grade, and you're going to see Union Central. Union Central has their interventions that come in. She is assigned to work with the 5th grade. And we saw a great impact because she went into that one school. Columbia had gained as well because they started mid-year pulling in and working with those 4th and 5th graders as well. So now, instead of working just K to 2, we kind of spread them out, and now they're going K to 6. In our next grade, you're going to see 6th grade, which was, wow, great impact. Because these kids, at the beginning of the year, you had 52 on level students and 51 at risk. Look at mid-year. Mid-year, we now have 77 reading on grade level and 27 at risk. And so even though they're at risk, they show gain, but we're still working with those kids to find what else do they need to support those kids. Because I know Mr. Randy had a question last year about how we're helping these older kids, and we found that solution. The interventionist that's assigned to work with 6th grade goes into the classroom, and it's amazing to go watch because the other teachers, they have groups. So not only does the interventionist pull in and doing the things that they need for their children they're working with, the teacher also provides enrichment and works with those kids that she's supporting. So things that we saw, the interventionist provides interventions based on each student's lesson literacy plan. They plan together for each group. They talk about it. As soon as the mid-year data went out to them, they got together and said, okay, we need to change our groups. What can we do? So they immediately look at their data, and this is what drives our instruction.
Maria, just a quick
Yes,
question. Who defines the problem of the child? The interventionist, the principal?
I sit with them. I lead that discussion, and we talk about it. Miss Adams and Miss McCann was able to sit in the meeting. Do you want to talk a little bit about
Yeah,
what you saw?
so I was able to actually sit in on 2 of the meetings. I think one was kindergarten with Miss Carson over here, and then 5th grade at Grayson. So it's very interesting. They all sit around the table, and there's a folder, and they look at the kids' information, and they'll talk about, what are you doing in this class? How is this child performing in yours? And so they talk about strategies and decide, what am I going to do to progress monitor? So it's super exciting.
It is, and so we meet every 4 weeks to check on those progress. So that's something that we initiated this year. And so we progress monitor for your tier 2, which is what we progress monitor every 9th day, your tier 3 every 6th day. So these kids that are well below, we're constantly progress monitoring, checking, are they there? I go into progress monitor, the interventionist, so I'm with them. I lead them, we guide them. And what's amazing is because the conversation between the interventionists, the teachers, the admin, we're all involved with these kids, and that's what makes them amazing. Students are showing progress even at risk. Even the red kids, you'll see that they jump. We've had kids, I can't show you details of each student, but have gone from red to green because they're on level now. So that's exciting to see. We have some red go to yellow, so they're growing. Attendance, of course, attendance continues to be a problem because when we go and we sit with these teachers in these MTSS meetings, when we talk about a kid, they're not growing, and the teacher says attendance, they're not here. So if they're not here, we can't intervene and provide support. So that continues to be an issue even now with some of our students. So moving on to our next, here's the one that we talked about that showed up on us. This is Bulletin 1566, which I know Ms. Adams touched on it last month and told you that if students in 3rd and 4th are not on grade level, on our literacy screener that we're given at the end of the year, that they have to have 30 hours of summer literacy interventions. We have strict criteria on who provides the intervention and what needs to happen. But they also gave us some guidelines on what can we do. And so we have on the next one, I'm going to give you just the number, what we're looking at. In grade 3, we have these right now. What's in yellow is 73 students out of the 127 will have to attend as of mid-year. But there are special considerations with our SPED students. So with 21 SPED students, there are some special things that we can do for them. So right now we're looking at 52 students, but I guarantee you what the strategies that we talked about, they're going to be sending home literacy practices home with our 3rd graders to start working with them. We're pushing in more to work with third and fourth because we know that's an issue. Those are our COVID babies. And so we know that we got, after school tutoring is coming into place. Another thing that you're going to find in your folder, Ms. Adams put in the letter that we're going to send home to parents, letting them be aware, right? And they're going to be calling, letting them know that this is something that's coming down our line, so we're having to follow it. In fourth grade, we had 55 at the beginning with 10 students in SPES. Again, there's special criteria, the things that we can help with them. So that means only 45 right now we're looking at. But with fourth grade, according to Bulletin 1566, if they made master or above on the third grade LEAP test, we can exempt them. We can kind of let them know you can go or not. And so out of that, when we looked across the district, now we have 37, but out of those 37, we have 10 that are SPED, and again, there's special things that we can do for them, and then we'll only have 27. So right now, in the middle of the year, we're looking at 97 students across the district that have to attend Sunday school.
Maria, in this phase right here, is the interventionist involved?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And they're in the meetings with us. They're the ones that provide an intervention and working with the teacher. So they're there. Okay, and our next slide is going to show you just where our goals were at the beginning of the year. It was fun in August. We sat with the principals and we said, we want you to set a goal for your school. Well, if you look at pre-K, Ms. Coates was there, Ms. Witten was there, this is hers. Their baseline was at 6% was what they had on benchmark at the end of the year. And so they were saying, but they came together, they want their goal to be 60% by the end of the year to be on benchmark. Right now, in the middle of the year, they have 31%. Ms. Coates, you want to add to?
Well, Miss Witt was a little worried, but we see that every year. They're very low, and we have generally using Brigance, the other things we use, we'd shop for 75 and 80%, and they usually get there. But she was a little nervous about going that high, which I can understand with the new instrument and everything, so we went with 60. But I feel certain that they'll make 60.
Yeah. Because we can see that growth, and that's mid-year. We have about 12, 13 weeks before we test again, so we know where we need to work toward. The next one, you're going to see our district goal. We started at 41.7%. Our district goal is for K to 6 to get 61.6. We're at 49%. So we're gaining ground to get there. And we have strategy in place. We have teams that are working together. And this includes your admin, your teachers, your interventionists. We send those home on progress to parents. Every 4 weeks we have a meeting. They get a note that goes home and says what your child is doing, showing progress. We need to do something else. We also say that we may have to get another meeting with the parent to talk to them about their child. So that's our goal. Then we're going to have the school goals. Again, when the principals sit down, they were like, oh goodness, we had 2 new principals that were like, okay, we're going to go with what, we've seen in the past. Columbia goal, they started at 51.2. Their goal to have 60% of their K to 5, they're at 54.3. So we're looking at them to exceed that goal. Grayson from 35.6, their goal was set at 50%. So they're middle of the year right now, they're at 49.6. So they were a little hesitant, but I believe they're going to succeed and get there. Union Central, their baseline was 31. So they're shooting for 40%. Right now, they're 34.5. We want them to go above their goal. That's what we want them to go.
Question?
Yes.
Like the 60%, and we're at 54.3. How many students are we talking about?
Goodness, enrollment.
Just a guess. You don't have to be.
K5 at Columbia is 245.
Yeah, 245.
So I mean, how many more would we need to make that 60%?
You're looking and math.
That's the mathematician.
60% of 245, so 14 kids. Okay.
And so, but they're working so hard with these kids. And so you'll see the enrollment that takes an impact with that, because you're looking at Grayson, 285 students approximately. So they have more, but the gains are there, and we're seeing that progress, and that's what's so exciting. So kind of to show you on the next slide what I've been doing, these are some of the meetings that we've been doing, and I've already spoken about these, the 4-week data review meetings, and I mean, it's just amazing to watch. The next steps, progress monitoring, and then team looks at grade wide. If we see there's a grade problem or a class problem, we address it, we talk about it. We give strategy to the teachers, what you can do. We can go in and model some strategies that you can use. The principals reach out if they find, look, I need some more help with this, can you come and help us? So we come in as a team and go in and support those teachers and what they need. But it's interesting to see what's going on in the classrooms. And then our last one is kind of things that are going on. K-2, we have a K-2 literacy content leader training, and this is something that's provided by the state that we chose a vendor, and they receive training. Grayson and Columbia have a person that what we call the K-2 literacy content leader there at their school. So they have someone there that they can go to and get some support or some suggestions. Central has one going through that right now to get her certification in order to be that content leader.
Maria, what's the reason for one? I mean, is it a criteria that they have to meet?
Well, we do.
Some just
We
reluctant.
have to, what happened is because Central had to have one,
Mhm.
and so because Mr. Cans, we went and asked, can we go ahead and put one in the other 2 schools? Yeah, one is what they're requiring.
Well, I mean, it would just seem obvious to me that if that's the school that's struggling, it would be
Yeah,
maybe more
we
than
can-
one.
Well, we had one,
Mhm.
and she took a job in another parish, and so
Well, that's
we're
what I'm
having to
saying.
replace
Regardless,
her.
it still, to me, would seem that,
We need another one there.
well, I don't know how many, I'm just saying, I'm just kind of curious as to why it's only one when we're saying that that's, their issue.
And to be honest, it was hard to find one
Mhm.
this time, because they have to ask the teacher, because it's classes.
Is it
that
an
you have to
incentive that
take.
we can give to maybe?
We are giving them.
Because I mean, I think if we're saying that that school is struggling, then whatever we gotta do to, get, people interested, because I wouldn't want to force them.
Right.
But I mean, give them the opportunity, encourage them, because I don't know what all is going on. But I feel like, these things would work when you let a person, know that you're behind them, you're supporting them, you're part of this team, and, you can kind of coerce them in a subtle way to do it, because it would just seem normal.
It is, and we tried this year, but we were able to find one that said, okay, she would go on and take, because it is a load, it's a class that they have to take, and a test that's going to be given at the end of it to be certified. So it's a lot to it. And so K-3 science and reading training, most of our teachers have completed. Also this year with Miss Meredith and the school board, we were able to train the SPED teachers are now involved that work with K-3. So that's the training that they have to have in order to teach K-3. We're giving them resources that the state's coming in. We have the Center of Literacy Learning Support. Jennifer Kelly is someone that comes in and works with Miss Whitten, Miss Rushing, and Miss Kelly. She goes in and watches them. She'll give them suggestions on feedback. What can you do else? This kid's not motivated. What can we do to motivate them? And so they get a lot of support from them. The folders, their folders are big, and everybody has to sign off saying we went over each child, we discussed their interventions, and this is what we're going to do. And then with something new that the state is providing free, is called Haggerty PD training, and we have pre-K, first grade teachers are going, plus admin are being invited to take part in that, and the interventionists are asked to be part of that. So they're allowing it and they're paying for it, so that's what's exciting. And so those are some of the things that we're doing, and we see work. We see the progress going on. I mean, you're welcome to come and just visit when we do this, just let me know. We definitely get you in to watch it. It's amazing to sit and watch what the kids are doing.
So Nikki, what happens when Maria 3 years is up? I mean, what's the plan? Because it was a 3-year
Right.
Investment.
We're gonna
Where
find
are we at
some
now?
money for
We're-
it.
yeah.
I mean, it's no time to be
No.
thinking. I mean, we need to be thinking about it now. Instead of waiting until you get to the last minute.
We're
'Cause
pretty crafty. When we start writing super app and figuring out how we can braid funds together, we've got a team full
Well,
of
now we
minds
asked for
to
that, let
put
me know.
together.
well, I mean, if you're showing all this good stuff, it would be wise to stop.
There's no way we could do it without it.
But we're learning. But I have a great team. All right. And also Denise is my other person Kelly that does the intervention at the 5th grade in Central. and the sixth grade, so she's falling in love with this.
Maria, Ken, when you get a chance, email me or send me a copy. I want to see what the interventionist qualification, I know we got it to us, because it seems like it's a pretty interesting job, and it's a task that, you know, they would, I guess, have to be on to do it. 'Cause they're identifying problems, and then trying to find a solution. Yeah.
Well, and with Bulletin 1566, we're actually going to hire interventionists for summer camp to service the third and fourth grade.
Well, that's what I was getting at earlier.
Right.
Are they a part of the summer program?
Yes, sir.
They're going to be.
They're going to be.
They haven't been.
Right, they haven't been.
Well, they
It's gonna be-
have, just
it's
in
a
another.
different way.
Yeah.
But because of this bulletin, it's gonna look a little bit different, but we have to make sure they receive those 30 hours. And so we'll be involved with them.
Okay.
Ms. Marion. Item H is the financial update.
Well, I don't have any graphs.
We gotta adopt this that school board training. Y'all have to make a motion. I didn't realize.
It's in, Kaylee said it was in the folder, but we skipped over
I read it to you.
voting.
Is that what I read?
Yeah.
I read you the resolution, but you have to vote on it.
Yeah, where everybody got their 30
Yeah, the
hours.
resolution that I read to y'all.
I didn't know the voting, sorry.
It tells you how many hours you have to have and where you
Oh,
get it
yeah.
from. I didn't realize.
So we have to vote on that?
Kaylee wasn't here to tell us. You
It's
have to
already
vote
a
on this.
statute, so I don't see why we're voting on it, yeah. It's already law.
Yeah, she said something about the LSBA requires it.
Shit, they want to give me the credits.
Need a motion,
I'll make a
second,
motion, we,
to vote.
do whatever we need to do to satisfy LSBA.
Got a second? All in favor?
Thank you.
All right, now, David.
Okay, yeah, I'm thrilled.
Where's your grass?
Yeah, I have no graphs. Now, I will be quick, in the interest of time. I have 4 or 5 things here. Financial analysis as of January 31st. General fund, I'm still very pessimistic on the $550,000 deficit that we're going to have. Right now, we have a fund balance of $8.1 million. That's a high point of any year. I mean, in January, that's where we're going to have the highest fund balance because we got property tax money now. And then we start spending the money down.
David, you're getting that deficit number from the
My
budget.
budget.
So I'm saying, you said we got a $550,000 deficit.
Yes.
School buses.
Yeah, we bought $250,000 of school buses and then insurance has gone through the roof. And that's
Well, the reason that went bang, bang, bang in my head was because I know we also said we lost 53 or 54 kids last year.
And
Is
that's
that,
the other part of it.
is that MFP money we're losing because
Yep.
we're losing kids?
Yep. That's the other side of it.
What is it,
How much, exactly how much has the daggum, the insurance gone up?
A lot.
Hold on. We'll get to
He's
that.
getting,
Anyway, sales tax is humming along pretty good. Lunch fund is about where it probably should be. Maintenance fund has about $1 million in it. H2 is the balance sheet as of December 31st, 2022. Nothing really to talk about there. H3 is a recap of the first 6 months. The red column is the budget for the current year. The black columns are for the first 6 months of the year, and a lot of these are grant funds, so they have a 0 fund balance. And anyway, I'm required to present that to you. And then H4 was the one that we talked about a little bit whenever the other guys were here. I apologize for not sending that out.
Oh, that's okay.
Well, I started working on it, and then I got in and out of it, and
You know you busy.
before I knew it, we were sitting on it Friday, and that's when I sent the email. H5, that is the insurance cost. And Randy, we've gone up $395,000 in the past 6 or 7 years. So
How much, Dave?
right at $400,000.
That's almost our deficit.
That's
but how much since last year?
Since last year, we went up $87,000,
And it's only going up.
only going up. So this was a letter that I helped Nikki write to our senator and our representative whenever they were in special session. They were talking about insurance, homeowners insurance, but I drafted a letter hoping that they might talk about it and at least get it on paper and notify them that we are drowning in these numbers. And back on MFP, I think there's 60 parishes that have a decline in enrollment out of 69 school boards.
So
It's a
That's only good
statewide
enough.
problem.
it's a statewide problem. It's not unique.
So
to
what
us.
is our dollar number on per student MFP?
Roughly 8.
Around 8,000?
So if we lose 100 students, that's $800,000. So anyway, and that's all I have.
Thank you, David.
So Dave, what do you see as insurance 2 years from now? Just beyond the $500,000?
The, our insurance carrier, Risk Services, did a reevaluation of all of our property. And that goal, and their goal was to not only it did increase our property values, but hopefully to get bidders coming into the pool to bid on it. I don't know if that's good or bad. Because our base property did go up.
How
So-
about the deductible?
Our if we raise the deductible, it does not really move the needle. Because I asked that too. It's like, you're throwing away money.
But right, what is it sitting at right now? How much?
What is our deductible?
Yeah.
I think it's 50,000. And to move it, you'd have to go to the $1 million deductible. We can't do that.
Anybody else? All right, item I is discuss restructuring of the 3 elementary schools. I think Nikki's got something first, and then we'll get to the questions.
Yeah, so, last Thursday night was intense. I have you have a manila folder, it looks like this. It is a copy of all of the surveys from the, employees, and then a copy of the surveys from the community, parents, grandparents, and concerned citizens. It'll take you a while to go through it, so I stuck that in there. I also have 3 letters that have either come in the mail addressed to all of us or through email. I would encourage you to check your email too, because you're probably getting some there as well. So I put all that in there for you to just read at your own pleasure. But we came together on Friday morning with our district strategic team and started kind of just rehashing the things that we had heard, and from the input that we got. In your folder, you have a next steps that we have decided on. And so the first one is that the bus drivers, the committee is meeting on Wednesday. I believe they have a morning meeting and an afternoon meeting. I talked with Mr. Wells, and he is going to recommend that they come up with 2 or 3 plans so that we can bring those to the transportation committee to look at before deciding, if we do move forward, what we would want that to look like. But we're going to really rely on their expertise to make sure that the transportation works out. Second item is Mr. Simmons is going to meet with the head coaches of the junior high and high school, as well as Coach Daniel Smith, who is the PE teacher at Grayson. He currently also serves as an assistant football coach at the junior high and assistant track coach. And so they're going to meet together and kind of design what they want the athletic program to look like, and then call in some of the volunteer coaches who have worked before to see how we can get them together on board with developing a football program.
I'd like to say one thing.
Sure.
I know it's always been a football program and a football program and a football program. I was talking to a friend of mine this past week, and I never really thought about it before I was talking with him. He said that just in conversations, well, I gotta hurry up and go, my grandson's playing ball, I said, what grade? He said, 4th grade. I said, 4th grade baseball? He said, yeah. He said, they got a 4th and 5th grade team. So I think that's something we need to possibly look into
As well.
I know it's hard to find people that, not participate, but people to coach and do things like that, but, it's hard to do anything.
Thank you. I wrote that down. All right, third item, Ms. Adams is going to schedule meetings with teachers at current grade bands to develop a plan for the instructional day. Ms. Guerrero is going to support her in that work because we want to make sure that the literacy, instruction, and interventions take place there too. And I think you're creating a survey, Ms. Adams, all right?
I am developing a Google form because I was talking to Ms. Smith on Friday about this, and we were looking at the calendar and how many days there are, time is not in, as far as Mondays and appointments, and, that's when we run like crazy, us mamas do, and some dads. But, So I'm gonna do a Google form and see who's interested in meeting on Mondays, who's interested in meeting on after school, cause we can do whatever. And I can adjust my schedule accordingly. And to see who wants to work, it doesn't have to be, in that grade band. It's open to anybody, any para, any interventionist, any support, personnel, because they're the ones working the schedule and doing the things. And so, I'm gonna put that survey out tomorrow to see who's interested and what days of the week, and, then we'll get something on the calendar.
Kim, I'm gonna tell you this, I talked to Nick about these surveys, because we do have people that are afraid to voice their concerns because of retaliation or fear of retaliation. So when you're doing these surveys, is there a way you can do it where they can just do it, I guess anonymously, or they can't be traced back to the IP address or something like that? Because
Well, it's really not a survey, it's
Okay.
just a, like, what do you prefer?
okay, just a preference.
Yeah, like,
Do you want to
you
meet
don't-
on Monday or after school?
Yeah, it's a Google form where you just click, that way I have data to show, okay, the majority wants to meet on Monday, so then I'm gonna adjust my appointments that I have and whatever to meet on Monday. If they wanna meet on Tuesday after school, then that's when we're gonna do it, I'll make sure the boardroom or we can meet at the school. I'm just trying to get a feel for what they would prefer, because they have kids, they have husbands, they have a life after work. But those who are really truly interested, we do have some teachers already working on plans.
And when we're doing all this stuff, just to make sure that people understand that if they disagree, they have a right to disagree.
Oh, yeah.
If they got some concerns, if they want to voice their opinion, you don't have to debate it, because most of the time people feel less than when they can't say what they want to say versus, saying it and then I'm not directing it to you, I'm just saying in
Right.
general.
I know
Even
that.
coming
I
from
know
me,
what you
yeah, so
mean.
if we can kind of get, because I think the more transparency we get, the better the situation, can run. Even if people disagree, you'll find that if they were able to say what they wanted to say, they'll jump on a little bit quicker.
Even if you don't agree, you can still come to the planning meetings.
Right.
And at least have a voice
Right,
at
but
those
we have a
meetings.
lot that feel like they can't disagree for reasons thereof. So if Superintendent, we've talked, and I think she's reached out, and for whoever's listening, I think in her defense, I think the olive branch needs to be extended to her, because most people feel like they can't do this, they can't do that. Well, that shouldn't be the case. If a person disagrees or they got something to say, they should be able to voice that and, feel free. So I think she's doing all she can do. But there are some other things that other people need to do to extend out, and I think it goes for all of us. It's not just a me, mine, I. It's a us. And I think if we can get to that, it'll be a hell of a lot better.
Well, and
Yeah,
Baron, that's one of the things that, because what I heard was there's not a plan, and that was purpose, because I didn't want to come with, I've got this all worked out. If we're gonna make this work, it's gonna take everybody, and it's gonna take everybody's expertise, and what I've learned in my 23 years of education is that if you're gonna get people on board, they have to have a say in what it looks like. And it's gotta be something we build together, not something that was just handed over. And so I think it's very important that these things take place so that people have a voice in what we're saying. Whether you agree or disagree, we want to hear from you and what we're gonna do to work to move forward.
And if somebody's talking to you, that conversation needs to stay between you and that person. Confidentiality, trust, and thereof, those are issues that exist, and we need to kind of work on that to make it right, because I don't, it's kind of, because if I text something to somebody, you can rest assured I can say it again. So some people can't, because they feel like that's the only way they can get that information out. But again, I think in her defense, she's doing, the best to extend that, and I'm almost certain she's relaying that to directors and everybody else, because we want everybody to feel like if I disagree, I still can go to Ms. McCann and say, hey, look, I disagree. And I think it works better that way. But when they fear that they can't do it, it creates a hostile environment that you don't get the best out of the person. So I just want to make sure that they understand that there are people who are aware, superintendent is aware, and again, I think she's reaching out to try to do, her very best. And I expect those who say that now to be able to reach out to her and give her the opportunity to show them that, she's doing what she can do. And everybody else that's part of that training.
Thank you, Baron. All right, number 4, Miss Meredith. There you go. She already has her Special Education Advisory Council, which has parents and community members on it. meeting Thursday?
Yes.
Okay.
So people, we opened up applications and folks applied if they were interested in being on there. So it's just sort of a natural fit that we would start with this group because it's got parents and teachers and some outside folks too. So to start with them kind of coming up with ideas, and then once we meet, then my plan is to present to all teachers whether they wanted to be a part of the council or not, but all of the sped teachers and get some feedback from them too.
I've learned a lot too from the surveys that y'all have on the teacher ones, that when we presented this that Friday and then they met together, some of our special education teachers brought up things we had not even thought about. And so those are things that I've shared this document with all the directors so that they can address those solutions and cons to figure out how to move through this. Again, this is why it takes everybody working on it, because you can't possibly know every little in and out. Okay, so that will be the special education. The fifth one, Mr. Sonye and I are doing some research. I have some suggestions from bus drivers about parent drop-offs being separate from bus drop-offs, and so we've got to have some discussions with the tax assessor and with the police jury. I thought you were back there, but you're not. So we've got to have some discussions with them about ways that we could possibly reroute some of the traffic around, and so we're working on that. Like I said, with the assessor, the police jury, and law enforcement, there would possibly be extra places where we needed to have traffic directing, and so we've got to have those conversations to have that all planned out. And then finally, Ms. Wiley and Ms. Broadnax are hosting a parent advisory meeting on February 16th where I can review the proposal again and solicit feedback for more improvement. And we'll schedule a virtual parent night for more improvement once we have this. What I need to know is, when do we need to have these details ready? I had talked to Mr. Wells about mid-March. That's also when we're big on to the LSBA convention, so I want to make sure that we have, we've been thinking about these things, we just have to get the input to put together the solid plan for y'all.
Another March meeting, have the details ready.
Which we're gonna have to reschedule the March meeting.
And then you're gonna have to present it to the public.
Yes.
Again.
Yes.
In enough time to get the input for the
I
April
agree.
meeting.
I agree.
Which meeting are we talking about rescheduling?
Okay. Well, first of all,
School
we're
board?
going to have to reschedule the March meeting because it's scheduled for March 9th and we're in Lake Charles at the convention at that time. So we're gonna have to set a date to reschedule that meeting. You wanna do that now or you wanna do that?
Man, we're gonna put it the following week.
That's what I was gonna
Okay.
say.
So March the 16th,
What's that, on Tuesday, Thursday?
Thursday. You want Tuesday or Thursday?
You know what, Nikki? 16. No, that's the weekend of the 11th. Okay, I'll be here.
Okay, so March
Everybody all
16th.
right with the 16th?
That's a Thursday?
Mhm.
16.
It's just a week later than what it will be.
Okay,
I don't.
All right, if we're gonna be on the 16th, that's halfway through March.
okay,
I think we need to reschedule our April meeting too, throw it up a week, throw it back
Throw
and
it
up.
back, so we
Okay.
can,
Throw it up,
That's a
so
good
we'll
idea.
have enough time, because you're just talking 2 weeks. Where
okay,
you would normally have 3 to 4
I agree.
months.
okay.
So we need to reschedule, push our April meeting on.
April 20th, that's the next.
That would
April
be,
23rd would be a week.
what is the next Thursday,
The-
closest
the-
Thursday?
April 20th?
April 13th is the already scheduled meeting date. If we
So,
bump it a
push
week,
it a
it would be
week.
the 20th.
For April.
All right, I got 3 cards here.
I would like to throw something, before we get into that, I would just like to throw something out,
Right.
just so people can be considering it. And, because this is the discussion phase of everything, and just so people get it in their head and kind of be digesting it. I really think, and talk to other people about it too, and of course, you know, like I said, like we've always said, nothing's in gold in this thing. I would just like people to think about possibly, I know in the proposal that we have out there right now, we're saying 2-3 be at Union Central. I would like to also consider the fact that, I would also like us to consider the possibility of 4-5 being at Union Central. And, am I right on that? 4-5 being at Union Central. and 2-3 at Columbia.
For what reason?
And my reason is Union Central is a two-story school. And you got second and third graders running up and down stairs. Not so much third graders, but second graders running, and of course, the argument is, they can be on the bottom hall, true enough. You still got third graders running up and down stairs. And they also have a good auditorium that fourth and fifth graders can use a lot more, will be able to utilize a whole lot more than the 2-3 will. And they have a brand new gym out there, which they'll be able to utilize. And if we go with a 4-5 baseball, they got a baseball field right next door that we have in the office. So, that's my opinion. I mean, that's just,
You could change.
so it's just something people to think about.
We're flexible.
I'm not saying
We're
that change it
flexible,
right
yeah,
now, I'm just
whatever.
saying it's something people to think
It's a good
about.
idea.
I tell you what, it's gonna scare some teachers, cause like, some of them's already, I'm gonna get to stay at my school. I'm like, well, you don't know if we're gonna move cinders yet or not, because that has been said. So, I mean, I think that's floating around, if this is written in stone, and, I mean, that makes a lot of sense, but, I mean, that's where we are, we gotta get some things written in stone.
Right. And that's what we're shooting for.
But we can't write it in stone until we have a discussion.
I agree.
Yes, I mean, that's what this is a discussion about that, and I think that's a very valid discussion point, yeah.
So I need to say too, it's a little out of order, but Mr. Griffin was in the foyer with me, and I think I was in charge of maybe giving directions, and I did not tell him that he needed to turn his car in before the meeting started, but he was with me. I think most of y'all saw me in the reading space with the foyer.
I'm with it.
This needs to be yours.
I'm gonna go ahead with this.
Right, anybody, any other discussion from the board?
I'd like to discuss after they all do.
Okay.
All right, the first one is gonna be Kobe Schultz, and I think we'll give him 3 minutes.
All right, this is our policy, so when it goes off, please don't make Gary bang the gavel. All right, you may begin.
I spend a lot of time in this community, and I spend it with in every socio-economic status of every kid in this community. I make sure I'm out on the streets finding out what kids need and giving them a better leg up to the best of my ability. When I found out about y'all discussing this, one, I want to tell y'all are doing an amazing job, and I appreciate y'all. No anger in any status of this. But I think we're standing at like kind of a fork in the road for our community, because the way our elementaries are set up right now, they're very divided by socioeconomic standings right now. And because of it, 6th grade is one of the most defining times for a kid. Physically, emotionally, chemically, in their brain. You're taking on so many new things when you enter into junior high. And the way we're set up right now is we actually kind of set our kids up with kind of a leg behind, in my opinion, for what I see is because kids, the way they're set up, they're going to school with people that are kind of raised the same way, same socioeconomic status. And so we keep them separated by their neighborhoods is pretty much how our elementary schools are right now. And then all of a sudden we mesh in on 6th grade when all of these new challenges are taking place in the kid's life. And then they're introduced to people that were raised differently, different socioeconomic backgrounds, all these different things that come into play. And that's why in the junior high a lot of times it's one of the more hostile campuses. I don't like that term, but we see lots of fighting, disagreement, friction, bullying. It intensifies in junior high. And I think with this opportunity, we're getting the opportunity to go all the way back to kindergarten when a kid is leaving their home, the safety of their parents, and they're getting introduced to life with other people that they've never met before. They have a different background, they've been raised a different way. And if you go all the way back to the source of where it starts, you get the opportunity to create a value system for somebody that doesn't look like you, doesn't act like you, and wasn't raised like you. I spent a lot of time on the mission field in Africa, and one of the greatest impacts it ever had on my life was I spent a lot of time with people that are raised completely different, with a completely different background, with a completely different socioeconomic standing. And because of it, it raised the value in my life. And I look at my son one day when he enters elementary school, I want my son to be raised with that value system from the very get-go instead of having to try to figure it out in 6th grade. And I believe we're not only going to see the fruits of it in our education, but I think we're going to see the fruit of it in our community for the long term. And with any change, I believe right there at the get-go, if you guys vote on this and our community decides to go with it, it's going to create turmoil in the beginning because change always does. But if we vote with how it affects us right now in this moment, we'll miss the opportunity to vote of how it affects us generationally. And if we vote generationally, then we actually set our kids up for when they get to junior high to be even more successful. And so if we do that now, I believe we position ourselves for great success, not only in the education. Yeah.
Good job.
But you know what, Nick, in your defense, if you got a little bit more time, because I would like to hear everybody's opinion, pros and cons. So if you got another minute or so on that, I don't think the board would be have an objection to that, so you can finish your point. Because I like to hear what you're saying.
So what it is
It's okay.
when they're coming together in that classroom and they're trying to learn how they feel about themselves and their place in life, and then I'm trying to figure out how do I value the person next to me. And if we raise them from kindergarten to 5th, that you pretty much have a value system for everybody around you that was raised the exact same way. Parents come from the same backgrounds and same socioeconomic standing. When they get in that melting pot, per se, in 6th grade, we're making it so much more difficult on them. But if you create a value system, fights, bullying, friction in school, literally if you base it all the way back to one thing, it's a lack of value for another person. And it's easy to value somebody. The Word of God actually says it. It's easy to love someone who loves like you, acts like you, mesh with them. And so we're legitimately, to a degree, teaching our kids, yeah, you get along, and it's easy to get along with people that look the same and act the same and are raised the same. But if you put them in that melting pot in kindergarten, and we have the greatest teachers in the world in our community, like they're wonderful. And if we put them in that melting pot at kindergarten and teach them how to value someone from the very beginning that doesn't look like them, doesn't act like them, and can't buy the same things as them, you immediately not only raise the value of the kid that may have been raised differently, but you raise the value of your own kid, because their entire value system changes to not only how does life benefit me, but how can my life benefit others. And if you do that, in the end, our entire community will win.
All right. Can he ask the question?
Well, you're in the discussion phase, so I mean, it has to be directed toward the board in his presentation.
You're gonna get it. All right, next one is Janice Jones.
I'll give her 3 months and then you need to finish. We'll do the same thing.
Okay, first off, addressing the board members of Caldwell Parish has never been on my bucket list. Promise you. Where I am. Because everyone in here knows me. I'm not a speaker. My knees are knocking, my heart's jumping away. But I'm here to speak to the board about parents. Because the parents opted out, as some of you know, about a homeschool community. And in my parish, I'm in Ward 1, I did email all of y'all before the first meeting. And I have had many parents, not just in my ward, in every ward, contact me about that information. And I have talked to someone about a building. I've talked to someone about a 25-year experienced person that's been doing homeschool in another in Washita Parish for 25 years. She's a seasoned person, because my kids all say I'm not. But the point of it is in Hebert, we have 40 children that are willing to come out of school, out of our system. That's not counting just your ward. I have people that are coming out of your ward. They have told me, requested me to go to Old Bethel, to go to Monroe, to go to Longwood, Woodlawn, to go into, you know what I'm saying, leaving our parish to go to other schools to prevent from what we are thinking about doing. And I'm not saying I'm for, I'm not saying I'm against. I just want you to clearly think about what could happen to our kids and our parents if this happens. And that's what I'm just wanting you to understand. There are parents that are willing to make choices and changes for their kids that have not been considered in other ways. And I've worked at Central. I worked 5 years. Mr. Glass got me on. I taught at Head Start for 5 years. I'm the Justice of the Peace for our ward. I'm not an educated person, but I have the opportunity to talk to parents and get their opinion of what needs to be, you know, what we need, what needs to be done, and what needs to be heard by our school board members. It's not, we don't want to lose, you don't want to lose 60 kids next year either. And that was just the option that I was trying to get across. And that's what I have. And I didn't need 3 minutes.
Thank you.
All right, the next one is Tammy Tarver.
Good afternoon. I am Tammy Tarver. I could have come here today in two positions as a parent, which I do not agree with this proposal, and I have my reasons for that. But I think I chose today to talk about transportation. I am the school bus driver for the Caldwell Parish School District. And y'all, it's dangerous when we're out there. We drive, we try to get these kids to and from school safely. And I drove in Jasper, Texas, where they had this system y'all are proposing, where you go to 4 or 5 schools. I had to run a country run and a city run. And I was on the bus 3 hours. I picked my first kid up at 5:45, and he just happened to be at the younger school, which he did not get off the bus till 7:40. As far as the kids having to ride longer and stay on those buses longer and make their day longer, it will happen. There is no way around it. I plan on coming to the committee meeting for the bus drivers and to see what I can do to help. But I am against it. And we're going to be on the road a lot more. And y'all, this traffic is horrible. Between Columbia and the high school, it's horrible. Grayson too. I was almost hit toward the beginning of the school year. I think first 9 weeks, we're headed downtown, and this is just normal traffic. This is after school traffic. And right there in front of San Miguel's, that road that comes out, I can't know the number, but I had a lady pull out. I praise God every day that nobody was in the left-hand lane, because I had to swerve or she would have got nailed. Either she would have sideswiped me or I'd have sideswiped her. And then just this past week, I saw a car, school bus had come out of Indian Heights on the 165. She was in the middle lane, the bus was, and I know there was a car in her blind side, and she was already headed over. She almost got that car. So just with the traffic like it is now, it's dangerous. And on top of everything else we have, as far as our pre and post trips on our buses are old, and I appreciate y'all getting us 2 more. But, you know, whenever, I want y'all to just think about the safety. Columbia is about the only school in the high schools where we can have a car line, pick up or drop off, and a bus line. The other schools, and I know y'all are going to go to the police jury and talk about it too, they are in such a confined spot as far as parking and pulling up. Somebody's going to get ran over. I think everything should just stay the way it is. If y'all have any questions for me, I'd be glad to answer them.
I've got one to start with.
Yes.
What time what's your first pickup?
My first pickup is 6:20 in the morning. So my kids are getting up before 6 to get ready for
Your
school.
personal
Well, my child personally that rides the bus with me,
kids? Yeah.
she has to get up at 5:30 so she can go on the bus with
your
me.
kids that get on the bus are getting up at probably
5:45,
however long it
5:30.
takes. This little girl maybe a little longer than
Now, I do know, and I'm just saying this because I
I
know,
raised 2 girls. I know.
my mom drove the 126 route that goes all the way to the line. And whenever she drove, she retired this past year, she was picking up her first student at 5:55 in the morning. So she could drive 50 and 55
So we have
miles an
somebody
hour.
else doing that now?
On my mom's route,
Yeah.
yes.
So they're picking up probably at 5:55?
No,
What time do they pick up?
she leaves the school at 6. I mean, so,
So she's 5 minutes late.
well, I'm talking about my mom was at her kid's house at 5:55 picking him up. So my mom lived out that way. My mom lives on Zion Hill Road out there on 126
What time
West.
do you drop off in the evening, your last drop?
My last drop off in the evening can be, it kind of depends on who rides and who don't. But I say the latest I've dropped off is between 5:15 and 5:20 in the afternoon.
Have you tried to drive this in a car, or have you tried to drive this in your bus with no kids or anything, just to see how much longer it would take you or anything?
You're not going to get an accurate time driving in your
Because you don't
car.
have any drop off.
You don't, yes. And then whenever you add on lights that are going to stop you, traffic, and I think a lot of people will agree, traffic at the high school is horrible. You know, we try to get, as soon as I drop my first kid off at 7:20 at Columbia, I drop for Columbia. I'm probably getting up there anywhere between, probably about 7:30.
With all the bus drivers that you probably talk with and collaborate with, what's the earliest pickup that you know of?
Well, the only one I would know of would, like I said, would have been my mom's.
Okay.
But I do know, like, they go out to Corey, almost out to the Washita Parish line, and she's leaving probably about 6:05 in the morning.
I live a mile from the parish line in the Hebert area, and my kids get on at 6:10. They get off no earlier than 5:15, but most of the time it's 5:20. And that's what I said. I have two that ride the bus, but that's what I'm saying.
And like
I
us-
have kids already getting off the bus. They stand there in the dark looking, and we
Yes.
decide if we're doing a golf cart or if Granny's running them down to the road.
Yeah, in the morning times it's dark whenever I pick my kids up. You know, when the
Time changes.
when the time changes, it's dark, and it's near about dark by the time I get back to the schools right now anyway. I got about 10 minutes before it gets dark. But the bus that goes out to Washita line, I'm pretty sure they're picking up theirs pretty early too. 6:15, 6:20, they're probably picking their first ones up.
Do they take the buses home now, or do you have to take them back every afternoon, park them at the school?
It varies. Some people that live on the route, like my mom did, she just parked her bus at her house. Now, I think there's a lot more that drive their buses back to the schools in the afternoon. I think Tammy Nugent, she keeps her bus out at her house. Sherry, Mona, she probably keeps hers. Sherry, Mona.
Daddy drove a bus,
Yeah.
and he went to the Hebert line
Mhm.
there. And we'd have to get up every morning. I got volunteered because I was the oldest. But we'd have to get up in the mornings and take him to the bus. And I know we would get there probably about a little before 6.
Mhm.
And because he could park it out there, but then years later they let him park it at home. I mean, it made a
Yes.
difference.
It
on
does
him
make a
going back
difference.
3 of our buses bring it back to Columbia
Yeah.
School. Sherry Tucker, and we do have 3 bus drivers that bring it back.
Yeah, we've got 3. Sherry's the only one that leaves hers in Hebert. And it's just really, like I said, I've already almost been in an accident this year, and I've almost in another bus being an accident. You know, it's scary. I had half the kids on my bus. It is scary. But anyway.
Ms.
Yeah.
Tarver, as an
Yes.
employee, thank you for being open and honest, and do not be afraid that your job is in jeopardy, because you have every right to say what you're saying, and I appreciate you telling me whatever position you're in.
Well, I did not feel scared at all coming and talking to y'all. I'm used to talking in front of people. But I will say one other thing. There are some bus drivers that are okay with this. But there's a lot of us that hasn't spoken up. And I'm like, I'll do it. So I'm here.
So they wasn't part of the survey?
Well, yeah, if they chose to partake in the survey. I mean, I didn't take one myself, but for everybody, but I know there was several of us that did not agree with it.
this for safety issue.
But they did the form after the presentation.
I don't know.
I
And then,
had 17 bus drivers who were
Yeah.
at my presentation, but I don't think that there were 17 people who filled out the survey.
How many bus drivers is it?
there's 23 of it, 23 routes.
And just tell them they can go and talk to the superintendent
Oh, yeah.
or Mr. Wells, regardless as to what position they on. If they need to get their board member to go, they need to know the truth. Because like I told Nikki, she don't need anybody telling her 50% or 75%. She
Right.
needs 100% of the people telling her that they're in this. Because if it starts, you can't go backwards.
Right.
So they need to be open and honest with her no matter who they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, I just want to voice my opinion as an employee today, but I also, like I said, oppose it as a parent too, and I'll address that with y'all later on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for listening.
You're welcome. Tim, what you got? You up?
First, I want to thank God and all of you for the opportunity to speak here today. My name is Timothy Griffin. I'm a native and a resident of Caldwell Parish with 3 children in the Caldwell Parish school system. I'm here today representing the Griffin family and with all due respect, District 2 member Bo Barton. I'm also representing the 211 Caldwell Parish District 2 voters that voted for me in the last November school board election. I have some questions, some comments, and some alternative proposals. The citizens of Caldwell Parish and I would greatly appreciate if this body would consider an answer for me and us in a timely manner on the subject matter of Caldwell Parish School District restructuring proposal. Question number 1, what is the contingency backup plan if the restructuring proposal passes and proves failure after implementation? Number 2, will the Caldwell Parish school system survey the Caldwell Parish citizens and staff with a for and why or against and why survey? Number 3, do you have a comprehensive restructuring proposal safety plan? And if so, can and will you publicly present it to the citizens of Caldwell Parish? Do you have a comprehensive restructuring proposal logistics plan for buses? And if so, can you publicly present it to the citizens of Caldwell Parish? Do you have a comprehensive restructuring proposal logistics plan for parents carpooling kids to school? And if so, can you publicly present it to the citizens of Caldwell Parish? Do you have a comprehensive restructuring proposal sports plan? And if so, can you publicly present it to the citizens of Caldwell Parish? Have you thoroughly examined and understand why Lincoln Parish and East Baton Rouge Parish schools that are currently operating as center schools are failing? Do you feel a restructuring proposal will take a child's sense of community away? Yes and why? No and why? If restructuring proposal passes and proves failure, what are the negative consequences to Caldwell Parish school systems in the yearly operating budget for losing students to homeschooling, private schools, and parish relocation because of failure? Does the restructuring proposal add mileage to the bus logistics plan? And if so, what is the cost increase to the operating budget for the additional fuel and maintenance cost? If the restructuring proposal passes and increases Caldwell Parish school system's operating costs, are you confident that it will not consequently cause Caldwell Parish residents' taxes to potentially increase due to proposed tax increases in future elections to cover deficits? If restructuring proposal passes and proves failure, what are the negative consequences of Caldwell Parish citizens not feeling led to run in future school board elections to fill vacant seats due to a failing school system with no contingency plan? If restructuring proposal passes and proves failure, do you anticipate that current natives and resident families will move out of Caldwell Parish and new families will not be attracted to move into Caldwell Parish as a result of the failing school system? Concerns based on February the 9th Caldwell Parish School Board meeting at Caldwell Parish High School Auditorium.
Go ahead, Dean.
Eliminating school choice. Kids will lose their sense of community. Families with multiple kids will not be able to attend school functions together as a family. No comprehensive safety plan. No comprehensive parent carpooling logistics plan. No comprehensive bus logistics plan. No comprehensive sports plan. School field trips and activities will be oversized and unmanageable. Alternative proposal for if you have one failing school in Caldwell Parish, change the leadership at that failing school. Alternative proposal for overcrowding in classrooms. Head Start and pre-K move to Central. Kindergarten moves to the current pre-K building. Grades 1 through 5 at Kelly, Grayson, and Columbia Community Elementary Schools. Now it is apparent to me and many It is apparent to me that the Caldwell Parish citizens and myself feel this body is listening to us, but they are not hearing us. And I would like to make one response to Mr. Colby Schultz. It is not my first grader and my 2 third graders' responsibility to teach Christian morals and values. It is mine and the teachers at that school. Thank you. Thank you all for your time.
Do you have this list so we can go through it?
I think he has to.
Should've got
Okay.
Who's your board?
Any questions?
Who's your board?
That would be me.
Have you talked to Bo about this?
I have.
Yeah.
He has. and-
Well, I'm almost
and-
certain.
And he has 211 votes because he ran against me, and
But
he scares me to death.
what I'm saying is, I know that some of this right now, it's probably not gonna get an answer, but I think within a legitimate, time frame, once, stuff is, structured, I think, people deserve, an answer to this, and I'm, let me just speak for myself. I think the superintendent will probably do her very best to get you this information within a timely manner, and I think at some point, if you want to come and sit with her, I think she will be open to that. Because at the end, like I said, no matter where we fall at pro or con, if this bus take off, we're all gonna have to be on it together. And I'm committed to doing whatever it is that I need to do, regardless of what position I'm in, because I think if the faculty can tell me that this is something that, they are, looking at maybe trying to handle, conscious constituents of both. That's how you vote. I know where I'm at now. I know there's nothing that's been given to me to change where I'm at. Okay? But I'm still open-minded because that's what leadership, it qualifies you to do that. You have to be open-minded. I'm interested in listening to any and everybody. Randy called me the other day, and it's the first time he ever called me, but I'm glad that he called me. I have 30 years. You add all these people up, they don't come close to me. So I have the good, the bad, the up, the down, the weak, the strong. I've seen everything. I've seen 6 superintendents. I've seen failure. I've seen success. So I think that I have a perspective that nobody else on this board, would have. And I'm not going to pick up the phone to call to try to convince anybody to vote the way that they feel they should vote. But if they ask me my opinion, I will give it, and I will be able to defend my opinion. I appreciate the superintendent. We spent probably 2 hours. And I will say, of the 30 years, that's probably one of the best meetings that I have ever had with the superintendent, because we both were open and honest, 100% transparent, and I think when she left, she was happy. And when I left, I was happy, because I think there was a misunderstanding that didn't allow her to sleep well. And as a man and as a person in a leadership role, I took the position to apologize to her, because I think that there should always be a work relationship, no matter how you feel about a situation. It's people I don't like, but I can work with them, and I can give them their credit when their credit is due. So I think if we all take the emotions out of this and deal with the facts and deal with whatever we need to deal with, because there are people who know nothing about what we're doing. They have no idea. So to say, don't do this or do this, probably not accurate, because there's a lot of tough decisions that's going into this, because in the end, that kid is going to be affected. All of these kids are going to be affected one way or the other. So
I'd like to make one thing clear, that I didn't call you to talk to you about how you were going to vote.
I'm not saying that. So if that was misnote. What I'm saying is, I'm glad that he called me. What I'm saying is that because I have the seniority, I don't think it's becoming of me to call and try to convince somebody else what they feel they should do. Yeah, it has nothing to do with Randy. So I respect everybody's opinion, but you can bet your bottom dollar I'm going to defend mine with logic. And I think the superintendent is working hard. And I told her when she left, Nikki, you have to follow your heart. Whether I agree or disagree with you, I think we need to encourage people in these situations, because in the end, everybody that's sitting in here is going to be affected one way or the other. And I don't want nothing to be a failure, and I don't want to be a part of failure my last 4 years, because I'm out. I'm gone. I'm done. So I hope that whatever we do, it can be conducive for everybody else to move forward. And I know that we have to do what's best for these kids. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So I appreciate everybody who has chosen to come. I hope more people decide to come to offer their opinion. And just be honest. Don't tell the superintendent a lie just because of whatever. Tell her the truth. because she needs to know that, because that's the only way she can be balanced, to move forward.
I want to thank all of y'all for the opportunity to speak.
And I do want to clarify that I did have eyes on this list while we were waiting out in the lobby, but I did assure Mr. Griffin that the board would probably not be able to answer all of his questions tonight, but that Ms. McCann reads every single survey response, and that this was just gonna open the door for some conversation about things that we understood there was some confusion about, so.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you, Thank you,
So in your folders, you've got pages and pages of surveys, and as those surveys come in, I will get you, your most recent responses. But I encourage you to read through those surveys, because they're not all bad and they're not all good. It's the good, the bad, and the ugly. I tried to quantify it myself, but there are lots of interesting suggestions and interesting thoughts in there. The other thing that I encourage you to do too is go to these schools. Go to these schools and see firsthand. It is completely different to sit over here and not walk in those schools and see what we're talking about. Talk to the people who are in the schools every day, all schools. So.
And Kim, Maria, Rebecca, Samuel getting old. Forgot your name, Samuel. Just make sure when you guys are dealing with your employees, or the people that's under you, let them know that they have free will. Because I'm hearing too many times, and I've heard it for too long, and I'm going to just address it. They shouldn't have to feel that they, can't say what they feel, within their heart. So even if they disagree, it doesn't mean that they dislike it or disrespect it. They're just entitled to feel the way that they feel. And I think you create a healthier relationship when you know where a person stands. So just kind of reach out to them. I mean, you don't have to debate them or argue with them or whatever. And I'm not picking out just one person, just speaking in general to everybody, even including myself. We have to listen to what those people are saying, because, I mean, they elected us, and they expect us to do whatever. And I'm not saying pro or con, I'm just saying in general. We just need to listen to them and let them feel like they have an open door policy to do that. So that's it for me, Dan.
All right, any more discussion?
I got a little bit. First, it concerns me tremendously that I have a lady sitting over there that says we may have 30 to 40 kids leaving our parish. Times 8,000 is $320,000.
You're just joking, right? No, I'm just joking.
I wish I was.
I'm just putting the humor in this.
That bothers me, because
Well,
now we're gonna be looking at this man here asking why can't you balance his budget? That scares me. Next is, I called up an old coaching friend of mine, and y'all all know him. I ain't gonna call his name because they'll give him some credit for mentioning his name. But I asked him what he thought about this, and he's a Caldwell Parish native. And he said, well, I'll tell you something about Caldwell Parish. They are reluctant to change. And I pondered on that a lot, reluctant to change. And that's one of the issues we got here. We are reluctant to change. My first meeting here was in December as a visitor. And just to see how a board meeting goes. And everything I've heard from different folks that I've talked to on here is how positive and how great we are, and that's awesome that we can all talk and discuss about things. But that first board meeting, it went through real quick and real fast, and at the end we had some discussion, closing remarks, and you put a pretty thing up. We call this board here Promethean board or something. What do you call it? BenQ. Thank you.
Yep.
So we just have big screens in the coach's office. But anyway, so we put this pretty thing up here, and it detailed all of our scores from A to D. And someone spoke, the testing coordinator, and there was progress at every school. A progress, not C or D progress. A progress growing, getting better. We got an A school, we got a B school. This one's a C, but it got better. This one's a D, but it grew. I heard all that, and I went home and I was pumped up. 4 weeks later, I get a call from Nikki to come in my office. And I went and I visited with Nikki. And I was confused. I thought the plan was great, and I told her that. Well, that looks great. Where'd that go? Where did that go? Where did it go that we're so good, we're making so much progress, everything's going great? Why flip it upside down? Because I've been here 7 years, counting 5 years of coaching and 2 years of living. I ain't seen this much divisiveness, this much disruption, and this much chaos in 7 years. And I may be the only one on this board, because I live in District 1. But I'm getting it left and right.
I'm getting it too.
It's tearing me up.
Why you got elected?
So, exactly. Hey, brother, and that's why I'm speaking. Because I got elected. So my thing is, change, how can I explain that change to a person who has been told, some of you guys for 4 or 5 years, how great we're doing, how much we're moving, how much progress we're making, and now we want to change it. Well, you know, look, I'm telling you, I coached a state championship football team 2 years ago. They were 13-0. Did not lose a game. And I'm telling you, everybody in this room could have coached them. All you had to do was one thing. Don't screw it up. Don't mess it up. They're that good. So that's what I'm going to say here. Let's don't mess it up. Because if we mess it up, it's been asked in here, what's plan B? And we ain't had one yet. So that's my only thing. Show me a plan B and tell me where that went.
So if I can.
Yes, ma'am. Certainly.
The progress is there.
Yes, ma'am.
The label is there.
Yes, ma'am.
And so what we're left with is the results of that label. The D. We're left with the D, and never ever did we not show D.
Right.
There's an A in progress, and
But we
there's a D.
didn't show that it was only 4 points from the C.
Absolutely.
We didn't show that.
But we've been wearing that D for 6 years now. And as a result of that 6 years and school choice, it has created this disparaging number between our schools. And the problem now, and of course people want to say, you know, this is to save Central, save Central. This is going to help. But the purpose is that because of school choice, it has overcrowded our other schools. That's where the problem is because of that six-year D, we've overcrowded other schools, and we're now faced with not having the teachers. And so when we started really looking at the data, that's when we put together what was going on here. So I apologize if I have come across as being, all positive and now all negative, because that is not at all what my intention was.
I didn't say all negative, I just said it was really, really good. I didn't say anything about negative.
Mm-hmm.
My next thing is school of choice. Okay, school of choice is dictated, it's not just anybody can go anywhere. You've got to have the facility to take it, and you've got to have the number of teachers to take it. And when you don't, the state will say, okay, stop your number at 240. Mm-hmm. We don't have to go to 280. We chose to go to 280. We don't have to go to 280. If it's overcrowded, and we don't have the teachers to handle the business, then you stop it. We can't go to 280. We don't have to go to 280. School of choice is there for districts that can afford teachers, that can afford facilities to let these folks go where they want to. I mean, school of choice is school of choice. You're in charge of that. Am I correct? Yes, please.
What happens, in my mind, I agree with that, because school choice is a law that we have to follow. And we have it set at a capacity so that we don't overstretch. But we have people that are moving in constantly that are not factored into that.
Right.
And so you have to provide them by law a free and appropriate education. We can't turn them away. That's
Who
illegal.
sets the limit on each school? school board or you?
Y'all did it last year.
Yeah,
We set the limit
You
on.
said it last year.
So-
And we,
so
and
we
we
said-
were, we
so-
were within
what was that?
capacity,
Okay,
but we've
so-
had kids move in.
So if we set the limit at 220 per school, we're gonna jerk 65
It's per
people out of
classroom.
Grayson.
You
and
said it
put them back in
formula.
Union
It
Central.
was a
Is that what we're
formula
talking
that
about doing?
Ms. Gillette and I set per, teacher-student ratio per classroom. It wasn't per school, it was per classroom. Because your classrooms change.
Well, the classroom has to be 20, right? It's supposed to be 20, right?
It's 24, 25, isn't it? What is it?
No, I have to look at our
Is there a
policy.
maximum of 30 or something like that?
A maximum of them, but you have to, but they want you at 20. Am I wrong or right about it?
When you get above 20, it's hard.
It is hard. I think we set our, optimal at 18, 16 to 18 is optimal. And then you have the capacity after 25 in elementary, is that correct? You have to start another classroom?
And you had to leave room for people moving in.
You have to leave room.
But there's room at the other school that doesn't have but 10 kids in it, in a classroom.
They don't have to go there.
Okay, but we set the school of choice, we set it up like we want to, that's not a.
I think what she's saying though is like the ones that requested to move had that option. But then say someone moves into that district, they have to go.
You can't make them go out of
Yeah,
school.
we can't make them go to another.
But we haven't had a lot of people moving into Caldwell Parish, y'all, come on.
Actually, we have.
Well, then why are we losing 53 kids?
Well,
Why is our MFP way off?
53 kids.
Oh, overtime.
Overtime.
That was our last school board meeting, we've lost 53 kids.
We have a lot of transient kids in our communities that move from Grayson to Columbia, back to Central, back to Grayson to Columbia to Central. And it happens, Maria,
But we lost 53
Sydney,
kids.
we have kids, we lose them to Texas for a little while, then they come back. We lose them to Arkansas for a little while, they come back. We lose them to Old Bethel and they come back. We lose them, there's a lot of different factors.
There was an article in the Advocate this weekend that said Louisiana still has 22,000 missing kids since COVID as a state, missing students. So the fact that we only have 53 down to me is great compared to what some districts are
And
doing.
53 since when?
Probably 18, 19.
Okay, so not last year.
Not
last year.
We didn't
No,
lose
not last
53 kids in a year.
But again, 53 is 53, no matter how you look at it. I guess my
Correct.
question is this, which I go a little bit deeper than most, because we're saying that, and this has been my issue, we're saying that Union Central is a D school for 6 years. But why has it been a D school for the last 6 years? Okay, again, there are internal issues that we have that must be addressed, because you can move a kid wherever you want to move him. If you still have those problems, the problem is still going to exist. Again, I'm open to other ideas, other options, but until somebody can tell me what's plan B, because if you fail at this, you're going to have to go back to what you're already saying you're failing at. So if it's about test scores and you don't improve the test scores, then what? So again, not to discount what's going on, but these are questions that we must ask, we must deal with, and no matter how uncomfortable they are, because that's why we're here to make those decisions. And again, a coach is never going to put his team up against a school that he feels that he's going to lose against. I'm never in 30 years going to make a decision that I don't have another option, another plan. Because if this fails, when I go out to these people, I'm a failure. Okay, and I've always tried to do my very best, and I'm hoping that everybody, that's why I say it takes time to deal. We got 2 new members, been on there 2 months, have no idea how school system works. We got principals that's been there for 1 year, have no idea, because it takes development. So what I'm saying is, emotions, fine, but keep them out. We got to deal with the facts, because she's doing a hell of a job in your presentation. Because I give you credit for where it's at. I think April is what we said, and I agree to that. But when you look and listen to everything, you may be looking at something else, because again, I think there's a balance somewhere. I think we can get to it, but it's going to take a lot of effort, because I'm strong where I'm at, but I'm willing to be open-minded. You can't be strong where you're at and stay there until you get all the facts. So until a lot of this stuff still comes in, I think we can arrive somewhere. Again, I want to make sure that I've done everything I can do to make sure that every kid in Caldwell Parish had the opportunity to walk across the stage, at least. Again, these decisions are tough. It's a broad plan. I told the superintendent that from day one. It's very broad because you're changing the whole structure, the anatomy, the culture, everything that's involved. And that's why I told her I would like for her staff to be open and honest, 100% transparent, tell you the truth if we can deal with this. Because if it's not where it needs to be, it's going to be a failure for her. And I hope that she can succeed in the years that you're here because you stay here. You don't want that legs to follow.
No, and I have confidence. I have so much confidence in these teachers and in these administrators that if we can really hone in and specialize, that we're going to pull everybody up. And it may be, I'm confident. I just am, because I know what Maria does with literacy, and I know what the pre-K does, and if they have the ability to hone in on 1 to 2 grade levels per school, I know what they can do, and I believe in them. And so that's where my passion is with these teachers. Is I don't have any doubts that the scores are going to go up, because I feel like the instruction is going to be improved, because I feel like the cultures and the motivation is going to be there, because it's exciting and there's something new, and there's all these things that we can now do for a well-rounded education. I believe.
And again, as a proponent, you should be exactly where you're at, because you're the one that's presenting this. So
I didn't put it out there if I didn't.
Well, no,
I don't want to be a failure.
Because some people do just because. What I'm saying is that no matter where I sit, I still have to give you your credit. You're doing a great job in what you're trying to do. And I think that needs to be noticed, because I've worked with 6 superintendents, remember, and I've had some that didn't give a DAM, but I've had some that really wanted to do the right thing, called Gillette being one. And she changed the culture of the school, and we went up. So again, to change is something hard. You have to have the will and desire. But what I don't want, and I'm gonna say this, and I don't care who get offended, I don't want any kid to leave any school and have to go to another school and feel like they're unwanted. Because we do have kids that feel like they are unwanted, and I'm tired of people talking about Union Central when Union Central is majority white. So it's not a black school. It just happens to be a school that's in Caldwell Parish, and nobody else will address that but me, because I have to. Those kids deserve the very best. They deserve the very best. So if they go to another school, I don't want somebody to say, well, I don't want this kid because of this particular father or mother. We judge too much, rather than trying to teach these kids, because if that kid feels like they are wanted, they're going to produce you a good yield. And in the end, I think the system needs to cut all that, whether it's your friend, family, whatever. Stop saying it's the black school. It used to be the old Negro school, but integration changed that. Okay, now it's a Caldwell Parish school system school, and it deserves the very best. Those teachers out there have called me just totally upset. Why won't anybody defend me? Well, there are people that's defending you, maybe not vocal as I am. I just want them to know that you're a teacher, you're teaching Caldwell Parish. Hopefully you can lend a helping hand to all these kids. The meeting the other night, I had to leave because my temper don't allow me to deal with ignorance. Okay, especially when the facts are not there. I think the superintendent has proven to me that her heart is in the right place. So that's why I support 99% of what she does. And I try to give her credit openly, because oftentimes we don't give people credit that they deserve. So I think we have to deal with those tough situations. I don't care who it is. When you come to me, I'm going to tell you exactly how I feel and exactly where I stand. And I'm going to respect where you're at. But I think people have the wrong concept. It's not about this black school versus a white school. It's not about this school in the neighborhood versus this school over here. Well, hell, when they get in the 7th grade through the 12th grade, they're all together.
Six.
Yeah, so
They're together
what's the issue with
already.
race? You know, people say, well, it doesn't matter. Well, I see Carl as a white lady. But you being a white lady doesn't determine my decision on my outcome. That's why race doesn't matter. So I think when we look at the perspective and what people are saying, some of that stuff can be addressed if we just stop being so subtle and just deal with, no, what you're saying is not true. What you're saying is not right, because the majority of people that's looking and listening, they don't know that Union Central is predominantly white. My district used to be predominantly black, but it's no longer predominantly black. I went before the United States Justice Department to defend it for the last 15 or 20 years. The only person from Caldwell. So I know a little bit about what's going on, and I hate that people keep putting these false narratives out here when Nick is trying to do a good job, you trying to do a good job, and hell, all of us trying to make a decision to see how we can move forward. So just address those issues, but make sure that those kids go in the classroom knowing that they are somebody. Because when I left the home every day, bless her soul, my mama always said, make sure when you go in that room, you let them know that you are somebody. And I live and die for that. And I think those kids deserve the same chance.
I agree.
I'm quite through. I want to bring up Miss Tillette, who I worked under, loved her absolutely. Nikki's mentor. Barron said she's one of the best he's ever worked for. And I don't know exactly the time frame, but it was about 10 years ago when she tried to implement this same policy into our school system. And it never came to this point. Hats off to Nikki. She's a go-getter, and she knows how I feel about it. And I respect her, and I appreciate how hard she goes at things. But at the same time, Ms. Tillette was trying to institute this into Caldwell Parish. Her friends and family in Lincoln Parish were doing the same thing. They voted it in. Tuesday night, they voted 7-4 and voted it back out because it failed. They were willing to spend $60 to $70 million to go back like they were. Call your school board members in Lincoln Parish if you want to. Ask them about it. Ask them why they did it. The scores didn't go up quite as high as they thought they were. I'm like, dang, we ain't just a couple points behind y'all as it is anyway. But their scores didn't go up like they thought they were going to go up.
So is that the reason they did it to begin with?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
No, I didn't
Well, their
have.
superintendent, I've been texting, and so I'll ask those things.
Yeah. So that's something I would like to know.
What I look at here is that we're one high school, one junior high. That's not the case in Lincoln Parish.
They're
So,
not one high school?
no.
I'd like to add one thing. I don't care, I'd like to add one thing. I don't really care what Lincoln Parish is doing.
Thank you.
But we care what Zachary's doing.
No, we got the idea from Zachary. We got the idea from
I don't care what Zachary's doing. But the one thing I would like to add is that I'm very glad that we can have this open discussion about all this. I'm very glad that you're here and you can be as vocal as you can be about it. That's fine. The one thing, I say I don't care what Lincoln Parish is doing, I have called it. I didn't get the same.
Just say you gotta care, because
I didn't get the same, I didn't get the same, no, I know what the vote is. I also got the, well, I'm not gonna get into that. Well, the one thing I did get is the community was on it. But, anyway, the thing about it is, I think it's a very good thing as far as a community, as far as a board, that we are being able to discuss this, that we can be open about this with each other. I don't see this as dissension between me and you or you and him. I don't see that as dissension. I don't see this as a negative. I see this as a positive that we can discuss this as a community. And that's what Columbia's always been able to do. Look, when I moved here 30-something years ago, I thought, man, you go around here, I started coaching Dixie League ball. I don't care who I ask. Any person, any business, anybody that I went to and I said, I need $15 or I need $20. Could you donate? And these kids need uniforms. These kids need bats.
But see,
nobody turned me down.
It would be good if I was able to do the same thing.
Yeah. What?
It would be good if I was able to do the same thing that you're doing. That would make the community better.
But what I'm saying is, this community it's going to be together, and there's been time, nobody agrees 100% on everything. It's not going to happen.
I think that as y'all look through the surveys, you're going to find that they're not all negative.
It's not going to be that everybody's going to agree 100%. But the good thing about it is that we can discuss this, and we can get to a relatively, hopefully what each one of us You know, we're gonna end up having to vote on this at some point unless we just turn our backs up and say, the heck with it.
We don't get to stand in the middle, do we?
No, you don't get to stand. So, you know, hopefully, you know, we'll listen to everybody and do what we feel like is best for the children of this parish,
All children.
Yeah, of this parish. And I don't look at it as dissension. I look at it as a good open discussion. I mean, I'm not mad at you because you don't agree with me. I'm not mad at you because you're black. I'm not mad at you because you're yellow. I'm not mad at anybody. I try to love everybody.
But there are some people that don't share that same value, so.
I don't think they're on this board.
Yeah, let's break that. Yeah. Well, what I'm saying is, I'm a realist, I deal with reality, but we either accept, reject, or modify what the proposal is. Those are the options that the board have. Again, I'm hoping that you can talk, because you guys never say anything, so I don't know where you're at. I don't want to know where you're at, but what I'm saying is I think it's fair to let the superintendent know, you know, because, again, I see value in what Nikki has done.
Amen.
And I'm glad that she's able to, you know, pick up the phone, text me, call me, whatever. And I feel a little guilty because she knows why. I think I owe her a little bit more than what she's gotten. And maybe this is where it's coming from, but in the end, I've told her no matter where I stand. And in the end, if this passes or whatever we decide to do, I'm going to be all in. I owe her that. I owe those kids that. So I've tried to take the adult approach. Wherever somebody's at, I'm going to let them stay there. I don't feel like I should try to convince anybody to see what I see, because our experiences in life are different. I think when we arrive at our conclusion, whenever it is, I'm going to respect and move on. And I think that's advice that I would give to the board.
Well, good advice.
But it is, I agree with Randy, it is good that it's a healthy conversation. And it brings ideas out that we oftentimes don't get, because I don't talk to any of you guys other than the board meeting. I think that should change. I think even if we don't be friends, which I don't want to be your friend, we can have a relationship. Well, I'm too old now. I don't want to be a friend. I don't want to be somebody's friend. I want to have relationships.
You like me?
Yeah, I do like you, Melinda. Actually, I love you. But what I'm saying is, for the purpose of this, I think if we can create a healthy relationship, because we all need to get to understand each other. You know, our experience. Randy and I, if you recall, last year, you and I talked more than we ever have at the board meeting. We found we had a lot in common with our girls. And I valued that. And that allowed me to leave from there, come back here and look at him from a different perspective. So I'm just more open. I'm just more forward. But trust me, if I can help anybody, I will. With no conditions or whatever. Bob, I love him to death. I knew he's worked on this thing for so long. I didn't want it to look like it was rejection. And that's my mom and daughter, the only two people that can change my mind. He was able to do that. So there's room at the cross for me.
Baron, you made me think about something real quick. I know you want to adjourn.
No,
But
we're still got some other.
when y'all schedule these meetings and remind me to get with James tomorrow with the bus drivers, we will let y'all know when they are, because I think if you can get away and participate and hear some of the discussions, that will give you some insight, and you also may be able to relay some concerns that you're hearing from people who are talking to you, to make sure we address those things on the front end. Because if we do pass this, we want to pass something that people feel like they have a voice in, and we want to pass something that's going to work for people. So
I'm
please.
still telling people, you know, watch it, watch the presentation, vote. You say you don't have a right to vote? Answer that.
Answer
it.
And
What's
you've
your
got
vote?
everything to date, and as they come in, I'll make more copies for y'all.
All right, I got one more question. Correct me if I'm wrong, the kindergarten first and the second, third, if we go to this, the only score that counts is the third graders, am I right?
Yes,
They're the
so,
only one taking the test.
right,
So
so
those scores will go to both classes. That's goal.
the school
For
that
both
has
schools.
this third grade will have the letter grade of second and third, which is just third grade right now. When the
Right.
literacy things stuff come into place, it will be added to that. The kindergarten and first grade school will carry the same score as the 2-3.
That kind of concerns me, but I don't know about y'all.
They're still held accountable.
They're still held accountable,
They
and
are,
it
but if
keeps
you have a bad score
everybody
one, it's gonna be a
accountable. We're running the numbers and they don't look bad.
I'm not saying
You
that, but in
know,
years-
and
years
then
to
the
come,
fourth
we
and
will
fifth grade school will have its own score. And they
Still
also
concerning.
get that progress, and so when
Does
you
it
add
have
the
better?
progress into that, y'all, it's already, and I think I don't know, did I tell you this at ballpark tonight, but
Probably.
already
I
our
heard so much I
district
don't know.
score, our district score is calculated based on as if Caldwell Parish was one K-12 school.
Oh, really?
Yes. So all of your elementary scores are already going into the district score, which is a B.
Why is that?
That's just the way it's calculated. You put everybody in. It's like one big school.
So
So-
we're a B.
We're a B
we're a
district.
parish right
So if
now.
we were a K-12 school,
Which
we'd
is
be a B
awesome.
school. Yes.
Are we be going toward the north or be going toward the south?
Oh, Baron.
We're already
We did
way ahead of a
skim
lot of
by.
people, Barry.
We did not skim by. And I mean, right now we have an A school, a B school, 2 C schools, and a D school. And it all comes together as a B.
We're way ahead of a lot of people.
So.
I promise you.
You got another card here? No.
You don't?
I don't. We still have another agenda item.
Oh, do we? Okay.
We got Jay, we got district leaders up there.
No, we're good.
I'm not gonna do that.
Y'all come on now.
I'm representing the child nutrition director. She had nothing to update.
What about superintendent's report?
I think y'all have heard enough for now. Other than March meeting, we took care of that. April meeting, we took care of that. Kaylee put your information about the LSBA conference, March 7th through 9th, and she'll send you confirmation numbers.
And Miss Wiley did say hi from California. She's been watching on YouTube. So.
Nigga, both meetings been changed, right, March?
Yes, yes.
Hey, this thing on the convention, it does have a look down, so I was trying to see if I remember the secret.
March the 16th, April 20th.
Well, I think I'm gonna go home. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Bet you got a count?
Got a second?
I bet you they won't count.